my name is Father Michael Hagan, and it's a great joy for me to be here today. During this year, I'm celebrating 25 years as a priest, and also I turned 60 on Monday. And also it's a great joy for me, I was invited by ACTS in July to come to Pretoria to celebrate 25 years of ACTS National in Pretoria, and it was a wonderful experience. Today, I must say, it's been a surprise for me. Donald, one of our former members, said to me that we're going to celebrate. Then I said to him we can do that on the 20th of October, and I wasn't sure of the program. So it was a great joy for me today to come to see so many of the students and also of the former students here today. And I appreciate that we could meet here in the parish. I was ordained in 1993. In March 1993, I was ordained in Cape Town. In fact, it was a big issue for me. I hadn't done my military service, and I studied in Germany. And so I came back, that was before 1994. And after my ordination, I worked briefly with the youth of Schoenstatt in Guguletu in Cape Town. And then I spent almost a year in South America, in Chile and in Argentina. And I came back just before the election, and I worked from 1994 actually until 2011 as a chaplain to the University of Western Cape. At the same time, I was working in the parishes in Cape Town from 1994 until 2011. And when I joined ACTS as the chaplain, that was in 1994. Later in 1996, I was asked to be national chaplain of ACTS. And that was a wonderful experience, to experience the new formation of the Catholic students in South Africa after the experience of CASA in NCFS. Our task was to rebuild the Catholic student community in the whole of South Africa, and in fact in Southern Africa, including Swaziland and Botswana, and also to a certain extent in Namibia. My task then initially was simply to visit all the campuses throughout South Africa. And one has to remember we did that without internet, and the postal system in the previous homelands was practically dysfunctional. So I would just go and visit the campuses, and visit the local parish priest, and to see if there were any Catholics meeting on a regular basis. And then from place to place, from campus to campus, we just formed ACTS. And that was the initial task, was to travel around the country and to ensure that Catholic communities, student communities, developed at all the campuses. Our task of developing ACTS was in the context of the new South Africa. It was very challenging, but one has to say, first of all, the student chaplains, the parish priests of the different universities played a huge role in developing the ACTS branches. And then we used the whole concept of ownership, that ACTS is a student community, and the students, they took ownership of ACTS. Over the years, we developed a form of leadership, and that was, we had the national conference every year in July, the annual leadership conference in December every year. We had national visits every May, and through this process, we developed the leadership of ACTS. ACTS is a grassroots movement, and the actual leadership within the national executive comes from the local branches. And so we developed the branches, and we developed the various provinces, and slowly ACTS developed into a very strong student Catholic movement. And one can see today it's still existing and thriving. This was all within the Bishops' Conference, and the bishop who was responsible at the time was Bishop Mbembe, later Bishop Kumalo. And now we have Bishop Stanley, who's responsible. I would say the first task, or the major task, was to develop ACTS itself on a local level, a branch level, a provincial level. And then we had the huge task, the challenge with regards to AIDS. How do we respond to AIDS? Within the continent, the initial response was ABC, abstain, be faithful, condomize. And we changed that program into the ABCD lifestyle campaign around the issue of ownership and the question of developing the individual, forming the individual conscience of the students in line with the teachings of the Catholic Church. Slowly, I would say the next process was how do we develop the African Church? How can ACTS contribute towards bringing the Catholic Church and Christianity to Africa in an African way? And I think one can say that has largely taken place. And how do we actually develop the Church and ACTS within the context of an African theology? The amazing part is that the students have taken ownership of this process, and that is for me a great joy. And I think when we celebrate 25 years of ACTS, or myself 25 years of priesthood, it's a great joy to see the fruits of so many people. And above all, we have to give thanks to God. Somehow ACTS is a gift to the Church of Southern Africa, and we truly have to thank God for this wonderful gift. And we have to pray for the future of ACTS, and we have to pray that ACTS, the former students, will continue to make a contribution to South Africa and to the contribution towards a constitutional democracy. I think what's important, ACTS has to realize it's part of a founding generation, a founding process which took place in 1994, and that corresponds to the new founding of South Africa. There's a social contract, and I personally believe in that social contract. And the ideas of a new South Africa, that of a constitutional democracy and of non-racialism, I think ACTS really has the task to be part of this process, to continue this process, and to participate in this process. And my message is that the Catholic Church has a real role to play. That is, how do we bring Jesus Christ to Africa? And I believe we can do that through the teachings of the Catholic Church, and above all, that is, the Catholic Church presents a holistic worldview, and a holistic worldview that's Catholic, holiness, holistic, universal worldview would be very important for a new Africa, where the values of Christ, the values of being inclusive, involving everyone, and dealing with the tensions, the challenges of creative tensions. How does one relate Jesus to culture, the church to culture? How does one deal with freedom and the law? How does one deal with the issue of wealth and poverty? How can we develop a society where there is equity? And how can there be real confidence in South Africa that there's global investment? I see South Africa and Southern Africa in particular being part of global society, and I think that Africa has a role to play in a global society. The role in particular is the value of humanity, the value of the human being, and the value of the individual, in particular the value of relationship. I think Africans have the capacity to relate, they have the capacity to communicate, and this would be the gift to the whole world. Possibly Europe and North America has the capacity to bring technology, and the East has the capacity to bring spirituality and meditation, but certainly Africa has the capacity to make a contribution by its humanity. And I think this is a real message for ACTS for the future. So thank you. And so for me today, I must say, has been a day of great joy. So thank you.